Hello and welcome to the new episode of this podcast. So, today we'll be taking a deep dive into the climate tech and the sustainability, as well as the related industrial applications that come along with the sustainability. Primarily because we are seeing a lot of initiatives that are going around Europe regarding the sustainable energy. And similarly, we'll be taking a deep dive into one of the companies which is operating out of Europe and also serving several other clients across Europe and trying to reach out and expand into the other markets. So without any delay, I would like to start with the topic of today's podcast, that is the future of energy resilience, innovations driving defense sustainability. So primarily, we have taken this topic aligning with the defense technology as well, because a lot of European institutions are now funding defense related technologies in which the sustainability applications has become the core part, primarily looking at the way the European companies are now taking the route towards moving off track from the traditional investments into the fossil fuels and taking up and bringing in more and more sustainable energy related initiatives on the spotlight. So without any delay, I would like to welcome to today's guest, the founder and CEO of Landlele, Vittorio Rossello. Hi, Vittorio. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Omkar. I hope you are fine.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Vittorio. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fine as well. And yeah, it's a wonderful end to this week, I would say, that we are initiating this conversation because I believe this is something very much necessary, not only to Europe, but even to several other parts of the world as well. Because at the end, even though I know someday we might even land on Mars and terraform into Earth, um, I would also like to quote that statement from Neil deGrasse Tyson, that if we are going to Mars and terraforming into Earth, why not terraform Earth only from what it is at the state at right now? Like it is not in a good state. Why not bring it back to its right state, what it was previously? So I believe companies like you and individuals like you are primarily looking forward, to kind of revive the planet in a much more sustainable manner. And I'm really happy that this kind of initiatives are going on. So before we take a jump into the actual topic, can you briefly introduce about yourself, like your journey? How did you ended up doing basically what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I would say I went to technical high school. So I was screwing screws against walls and making electrical wires and electrical circuits working. So since 14 roughly. Then at the time we did extra time. We took thanks to a professor that unfortunately now is not with us anymore. She was a great lady. We took extra classes of physics. When we were 14, like extra classes, like PhD lessons of physics when we were at 14, and then engineering. I mean, we went to space where we, by the way, met International Space University in Strasbourg, France. I would say I was as an employee working when I started to work as an employee. The energy industry was probably possibly the most urgent, although my engineering studies were something different. So I basically went into that for a number of years, I think 4 years roughly. Then, yeah, when where we met after ISU, I stayed in the space industry. So as an employee again for roughly 2 years or something. And finally, until now, I have been more doing an an entrepreneurial effort, I would say, in the sustainability renewables. In all of this, I was born in a restaurant. I mean, sometimes I say to people that I work with, I'm son of a restaurant because it's it's a whole project there. Which means that I have been in contact. I've been used to be in contact with all sorts of people of all different type of culture and ideologies and everything since I was zero, since I was born, basically. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Um, I would say your journey. I think you have a mixed bag of journey, which also makes it kind of cross industry functions much more easier to grasp in terms of innovations. And I believe sustainability is a kind of a thing which requires a cross industrial function. I mean, it is an independent thing where you try to bring in like solutions which do not harm this planet or an ecosystem, but you also need to take care of the fact that it just doesn't remain at one place. It goes across other industries as well. Like for example, I think you started things in the energy domain, and now you're also, along with other industries, you're also looking at the defense tech as well, so basically targeting multiple industries. So I think this does really stem from your multidisciplinary background, I would say. So primarily, I would say this is somewhere I think how things have been contributing, and I'm really glad I think you have reached this point. So taking a jump into the actual topic now, from your perspective, how has the landscape of sustainable energy management evolved in Europe? And from your perspective, what key policies or trends are currently shaping the industry?
Okay. So I would say, well, sustainability and renewables, the way we saw it, has always been used as a tool for after crisis in Europe. Like after the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, that was originated to my knowledge in the US, then it propagated everywhere in the world, for sure hit badly Europe as well. And then after COVID. So it was kind of a tool that was never, until now, now it is being made, we are making it structural. So it was not structural, it was a tool for like saying, getting people back at work or like starting again economies. Unfortunately, it stopped, so that there was no continuity. Now there is, programs and plans and ideas to make it more like continuous, I would say. On the other hand, well, now this is like kind of merging with the kind of yeah, defense, security, anything that it is like countering aggressions. Because people were, because several technologies are dual use, like a knife can be used for, chopping a tomato, but also for, harming somebody, as simple as a knife. And so are like several, maybe all technologies that we use, that we have been using in sustainability. With the difference that in defense, what we hope is that the aggression stops, whereas what we hope is that sustainability never stops and continues and grows and gets better, injected into like gets something that it's part of us, I would say. Um, yeah.
Interesting. As you mentioned about the 2008 global crisis, I would like to highlight this point. So there were few countries who were left, who were least affected in 2008 global financial crisis. And I'd like to mention, apart from I think Peru, India, and China, I'm not sure about Peru, but I think Peru was there as well. But India, definitely, I can speak about it. And I would like to compare this situation with Europe as well. The reason why India was least affected, it's not that Indian market was not affected; it was affected definitely, but at a minimal level. The reason is because the most amount of dependence is on the domestic flow of the products and services in India, which I believe the European institutions actually realized a lot after that crisis and have started the initiative. But I think still things are not on that level where we are completely utilizing, those things. Like even for example, in general sense, if we take like Uber Eats is more famous all across France where I'm staying than the French brands actually. And
Okay.
Uber Eats is not a European company. It's a company which has came out of United States. So I'm just trying to say that this might be not completely the right example, but just trying to tell you that if you have something that is made in house, I think the economy flow and the management is much more easier, and you can be shielded, not fully but partially, at least you will be shielded during the crisis. And I think that
I
is what
see.
is more important even in the sustainable energy management as well, in the
Yeah,
European
if I
ecosystem.
if I can add on that, I totally agree, and
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
yeah, it's totally
yes, yes, feel free
reasonable.
to add. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, by the way, yeah, what we are trying to do is actually to, I mean, now it's perfectly reasonable to cooperate among different European areas, regions, countries, and it's incentivized. Like when like I started to work like 15 to 13 years ago, roughly, it was like it was not as simple as now, I would say. So you are an Indian working in France. I'm an Italian studying and working right now in the Nordics, Baltics, and yeah, I mean, we have ease to do like several activities. And I think the only challenge now for us is to yeah, be sustainable enough. I mean, to reach the level in which our activities self sustain, I would say. But yeah, I would say the cooperation in between areas internally in one geographical continent, geographical area, as it could be called, Europe. I think now it is happening, it is possible, and it's growing. Like it is stronger than ever I could have imagined, ever I've experienced in the last 10 years at least or so.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on the same point. And, taking a step a little bit ahead, from your perspective, why is sustainable energy management critical for defense operations, and how are European defense agencies integrating renewable energy into their existing infrastructure, and also trying to, maybe erect new infrastructures as well?
Yeah, I see. So I would say energy it's needed everywhere in every operation, be it civilian or like half civilian, half
Yes.
military, or purely military. So energy is everywhere, and therefore what I'm saying, like any technology, can be used for doing like for doing your own improvement at home, your improvement in your factory, and in battlefields, and so in these kind of things. I would say that the news now is that yeah, the European defense agencies and the administrations mostly now, I would say they are like I think there are three aspects. One is that the cost for getting access. I mean, for just getting understanding their activities, I would say, and the cost for interacting with them, it's going down, and the risk of operators could be like, and typically the risk for small medium enterprises now it's going down. In terms of cost, I mean that if somebody wants to participate to and like wants to engage with in person with the European defense agencies, now it costs maybe around 1,000 euros, which is clearly a relevant amount, but it is something that an SME could possibly afford to have an in-person, even brief for 1-2 days relationship engagement with them. Now they accept feedback. That's something that is quite new. Like before, like there were like institutions that it was like, to my knowledge, it was like a challenge to to tell them and say, hey, we have these needs, or we don't understand what's going on. Now this is possible. Lastly, it's the risk. It's going down in terms of like when the like organizations, companies apply for getting support of any type. The one that we have experienced, it's in the EU funding and tenders portal that for now, at least for us, for a couple of times, it took 80% of the effort in understanding actually how it functioned, and 20% of the effort and resources that we budgeted for like interacting and proposing something through that tool. 20% of the effort went into the actual content. So that was like
Yes.
tough. That was tough, and that needs to be reversed. It needs to be that 80% of our effort goes into the content, and 20% gets into understanding where to put it, and where to
Yes.
add the text, where to add the image, and these kind of things. So this is the view that we had with respect to European defense agencies, and how do they integrate renewable energy into their infrastructure, into how they are and how they operate.
Interesting. And, looking from the challenges perspective, because I believe when you integrate things in the existing infrastructure, or try to erect new infrastructures as well, while also integrating the sustainable energy solutions, there will be some of the other challenges. So what are some of the biggest challenges the defense sector faces in adopting sustainable energy solutions, and how can they be addressed?
Well, I would say the first and most important challenge is time requirement. So, in everything that it is urgent, things are actually urgent, things are actually needed, and by a certain amount of time. by discussing, by having like receiving recent information from people like in the actual field, in the in the
Yes.
in the east of Europe. They say that the time by which a product or a product update, be it especially the physical one, it's expected to be maximum 3 or 6 months. This means that companies, organizations that they provide this type of product, they need to be uh, integrated to a level that it is like the highest possible. So if you when you get a feedback, it needs to like integrate with your with your machinery in your in your factory floor, and it needs to, and from there we need to have a product delivered at the destination within 3 to 6 months with the update that it has been required. So this is the most like I would say crucial, I would say, challenge and requirement that is being provided. And that, by the way, comes rings nicely with what is called now Readiness 2030, this plan that it is being discussed and proposed, because people, organizations that they act in certain fields, such as I mean, energy, or for sure defense, when there is conflicts, they need to be ready, meaning that the products need to be ready within 3 to 6 months maximum. It's 180 days, and then either you are there or people die.
Absolutely. That's a very, I would say, intriguing point that you mentioned regarding all the operations, I believe. And I think with this question, we have just finished off, I think, with the prime, I would say, topics which touch upon the defense related aspect, but there's still some aspects to related to your company and the way forward to discuss. And I believe we'll be discussing that in the part two of the podcast. So this is just the part one. For the viewers who are directly skipping this part, I would like to tell them that please listen to the part one of this episode, because we'll be continuing this conversation in the part two of the episode. Okay. Thank you very much, and see you soon in the part two of the episode.